And I'm just on the outside looking in, child, so take this with a grain of salt, but I know some stuff. A lot of times, you date someone that comes from a broken home, a one-parent household, they often don't know the role that a man plays in the household because they've not seen that. But for her to say that she'll never, one thing that I have learned in this thing called life, and I have learned the hard way, don't ever say never. Don't ever, never, ever say never, because as soon as you say I will never, here come never and up in your life, and now you embarrassed. Welcome to another episode of the That's Scary with Meloney P. I am your girl, Meloney P, and we are here to have a conversation. So listen, you guys, I was actually on social media minding my business. And I came up upon this post that actually somebody sent to me, to be honest with you. And I wanted to give my honest, wise opinion on this post. Now we ain't gonna, we gonna cut to the chase. And here's the post. I want you guys to listen.
Household. I don't care what race you are.
You came from a two-parent household?
No, but I'm gonna explain to you why. There's a big difference with the man who was raised with his mother and father versus a man who was just raised with his mother. And I had the pleasure of marrying a guy who was raised by his mom, and I dated seriously a guy who was raised by both parents. It's a big difference. And coming from a household where I was raised by my mom, as a grown woman, I'm telling you, it's a difference.
I do agree that there is a difference, but I can't necessarily say that I'm only going to deal with men who came from a two-parent household, because I didn't come from a two-parent household. So I can't put judgment on another person and say that's what you have to have. But have you worked, and do you acknowledge that because you didn't have that you do have some deficiencies?
Yeah,
I know as a woman I have some deficiencies, and it took me a while to know that. Mm-hmm. But I realized that I do have some deficiencies. And of course, like he stated, it's a constant work in progress.
Right.
I have to check myself when dating a man and he says a certain thing and he's like, I don't like that you did that. I have to then check myself and say, you know what? I'm sorry.
Listen, I have had this conversation before ad nauseum with friends, families, strangers, horses, everything. And this is real. Now, first, let me start off that this comes from the Facts and Law Pod Show. So make sure you follow them, subscribe, wherever they are. But I think one of the things that I want to point out here in this clip is that, first of all, I love that in this clip, it is a very healthy conversation. And you know how I feel about healthy conversations, okay? But there's a lot of truth in this post. And coming from someone who has dated men who have been raised by both parents, men who have not been raised by both parents, men where, maybe one parent was more of the predominant parenting figure in the household, especially where the mom is the predominant figure in the household. But the other part of that is, I always say I'm the only girl with 3 brothers, and I'm very close to my brothers, and I have heard and I have listened to their stories and their marriages with women who have not been raised in a 2-parent household as well. So it goes both ways. I already said I love the healthy conversation. I love the accountability. I love seeing both perspectives. But here's the true thing. I want to start by giving this first young lady grace, because I saw some comments where they're like, oh, well, never say never. And, this, that, and the third. And that is true. I think that her wording, saying that she would never date someone, and she is married, so obviously she's not dating, and hopefully she'll never be dating again. But for her to say that she'll never, one thing that I have learned in this thing called life, and I have learned the hard way, don't ever say never. Don't ever, never, ever say never, because as soon as you say I will never, here come never and up in your life, and now you embarrassed. So don't ever say that you'll never do something, right? But here's the raw facts. And I'm going to give you just a case study of life examples, facts, and experience. I'll start with myself, right? I was raised by both my mom and my dad in the household, right? My brothers were raised by both parents in the household. And there is a huge difference in the dating world when you date someone who comes from an experience of being around two parents in a household. Now, again, looking at some of the comments, like one comment said, you can come from a two-parent household and still come from a broken home. And that is very true, right? But in the experience that I've had when I date someone who comes from not only just a two-parent household, but has similar growing up experiences the way I do, it really does make things easier in my experience, right? And I've had this conversation yesterday with a good friend and he agreed with me. So let me give you an example, real life examples. This is the way I grew up. Mom and dad, you get up in the morning on Saturday, you clean, you go to church on Sunday, you drink on Saturday night, play spades, cook out on Friday, this, that, and the dirt, listen to your father. If you're a man, you go out there and you're with your dad in the yard. He's teaching you how to rake the yard. He's teaching you how to change tires. He's teaching you these things. If you're a girl, then you're in the home, you're watching your mom. I'm watching my mom keep a home, be a wife, be a mother. I'm watching her. This is my experience. Whether I like it or not, my experience, my entire life is seeing these different dynamics in a household my entire life. Now, let's say that's my experience. That's what I've seen my entire life. Then I fast forward out here in the muddy, dirty waters of the dating game. And now, hey, I'm not used to this certain thing. I'm used to seeing a healthy, and by healthy doesn't mean perfect. So for that comment that's saying that you can still have two people in the household and it's unhealthy, we get it. Let's use our common sense. But in a normal situation where you have two parents in a household raising you as a woman, you leave that experience, you go out here in the dating world, and then let's say the first person I date as an adult, as a real life experience, real dating situation, not no kid shit, but real adult dating. And now I'm dating someone who came from a broken home. Well, they're not going to be doing, in my experience, a lot of times you date someone that comes from a broken home, a one-parent household, they often don't know the role that a man plays in the household because they've not seen that. They've seen a lot of times, moms playing man and woman, they haven't had the experience, the visual experience, the 20, 30 years experience of seeing how a man in a healthy household operates his household. They have not seen that. So then when they come into your household, when they come into your relationship, it is not uncommon for them to, I don't know how to do this, or not being that healthy male figure in a household. It makes a difference. Let's go to the man side of it. I have brothers. My brothers have had a couple of marriages, right? And I'm just on the outside looking in, child. So take this with a grain of salt, but I know some stuff. Now, I've had brothers who have married women who come from what you might call a broken home. Because this goes both ways. They are looking at how we were raised. They're looking at, okay, well, this is what I saw growing up as a man. So as the man, I feel like I come to the home, I lead, I protect, I bring order. I'm, fixing shit if it breaks. I'm making sure it's gas in the car. I'm taking the trash out. I'm doing these things. And this is not a lie because I know it's going to sound like one. I have seen firsthand where for some reason this triggers women who come from toxic backgrounds and toxic environments, single parent environments, no man in the home environments. I wouldn't believe it either if I didn't experience it and hear the stories firsthand. It is a real thing. Let's go a little bit deeper. Out of all of my siblings, I have one sibling who, there's one of us out of all of us who hasn't been divorced. And I always attribute that to the mimicking of both sides of their family. And this is what I mean. And this speaks to and proves this point. 4 of us, 3 of us have been divorced at least once. 2 of us have been divorced at least twice. 1 of us have been divorced nada. And the person that's been divorced nada, his wife's family is almost identical to our family, to his family. So marriage is hard, relationship is hard, and it's hard because you're bringing 2 different people from 2 different lives, 2 different backgrounds, 2 different set of experiences, 2 different circumstances, and you're putting them in one environment together, and you're sending them out in the wilderness, and you're telling them to go live and make it work. Now that shit is hard in itself. But in this particular situation, in this particular couple, they have similar upbringings. They have similar backgrounds. They even have the same number of siblings, almost damn near the same ages on both sides. So for them, I love how they operate from the outside looking in, but I love how they operate their family, because there is no question of, do we go to church on Sunday? There is no question of, is Friday night our eat out night? There is no question of Christmas looks this way. There is no real question of Thanksgiving looks this way. There is no real question of, oh, well, my family's coming into town, so it's going to be very awkward because your family's one way. Maybe you don't have a family, or maybe it's just your mom, or maybe it's just your dad. And then here comes my family, and then we're out here and we're ready to talk and have a conversation and debate and go back and forth. And now it's like, I'm uncomfortable. But see, they have been able to avoid all that because, prime example, being a new person entering a family, and you come from a certain background, you come from a certain experience, you come from a certain way of thinking how a family should be. And then let's say your partner's family is very drastically different. Well, you already have one barrier there, because it's like, okay, I'm coming in thinking, okay, this is going to be happening. This is how it's going to be. And it's a whole other experience because you guys come from 2 different worlds, 2 different experiences, and it's already put in a hard thing of having a relationship. Is putting yet another barrier there, because especially depending on the people, it can be difficult to merge these families. How they see family is the same way, very similar as to how we see family. How they interact with their family, their cousins, their aunts, their uncles is the same way that similar to the way that we interact with our aunts, our uncles, our, cousins, so there isn't any drastic difference, right? As it relates to this lady in the comments, I really want to applaud her for saying that, she's not going to confidently say that she's not going to date a man who, who wasn't raised with both the parents, because you don't know who you're going to date. You don't know how life is going to unfold. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate her taking the accountability and saying that she has deficiencies herself. So she cannot sit here and say that, she didn't grow up with both her parents. So how can she say that she's not going to date somebody who didn't grow up with both of their parents and don't have both of their parents? So I appreciate her, taking that accountability and explaining that she's growing. Just because someone wasn't raised with both their parents is not inevitable that they're going to have toxic thought patterns. They're going to not be able to navigate and be in a healthy relationship. But it makes it a whole lot easier when both families have some type of similarity in how they were brought up, some type of similarities in how their households were ran. It makes it a lot easier. I don't know, y'all. Listen, let me know your thoughts below. We can go a little bit more into this, but I really want to say that it truly, I agree with her. The goal is always to date someone. And this is the thing. I think when you're young and when you're out here dating and trying to find your match and all these things, these are not things that I think people typically think about. Like, this is not something that I thought about younger, when I was, dating in the real world, I never thought about that until I had experiences with dating people and they came from these weird families or these broken families. And now I'm sitting here sad on Christmas. I'm sitting here sad on Thanksgiving. I don't have no, other side to be cool with. I don't have no brother-in-law, no sister-in-law, these things. And it does make it difficult. It definitely does make it difficult. Dating someone that comes from a two-parent household definitely has a lot of advantages. And again, I want to repeat, it has a lot of advantages because you see how it looks to have two people together managing a home. You see how it looks in a close to perfect world, or in a healthy environment. I'll just say in a healthy environment, you get to have the years of experience seeing how it looks to see how a man and a woman maneuver together. You get to see how it looks to see your dad out there fixing cars and then, changing oil or whatever the case might be. So then you leave your home and that's your representation of what a man should be. So then you come to that woman with that years of experience already in mind. It's the same thing as a job. No job is going to hire you if you don't have experience. And even if you do get the job, you have to learn how to maneuver and to be successful at that job. And it goes to the point again. Just because someone wasn't raised in a healthy environment, wasn't raised with two parents, don't mean that they cannot be a good partner. But it should mean that if they're not a good partner, hopefully they're doing the work, as this lady said, doing the work, taking the accountability, taking a step back, looking in the mirror, and doing what they can to be a good partner, a good, example to their children in the household. So again, I love what both these people are saying. I love the conversation. I love that they don't agree, but they're still both calm, cool, and seeing each other's perspectives. And I feel like hopefully in this conversation, they both walked away with, some different thoughts other than what they had in the beginning of the conversation. Listen, let me know what you think. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video.